In this video, we'll demonstrate how to install our BA32 Bluetooth Retrofit Kit into the Jaguar AJ8700 Radio. For tools, you'll need a small plastic spudger, a number 1 Phillips head screwdriver, a small flathead screwdriver, a precision flathead screwdriver, and an 11mm deep socket and ratchet. In your kit, you should have the BA32 circuit board itself, a combined microphone and aux cable, the microphone and clip, and 2 different 6-pin to 5-pin wiring harnesses. We're going to start with the radio already removed from the car, but if you need help with that step, consult your shop manual or any one of the many articles online. At the workbench, the first step will be to remove the faceplate. Start by removing the 2 screws on either side. Now we're going to remove the outer volume knob. It's just friction fit, but it can be pretty difficult to pull off. Now let's remove the inner volume knob, so take your plastic spudger and insert it between the faceplate and the knob, and it should come off much easier. Now we can remove the faceplate, just grab it on either side and pull it straight forward. We need to remove the top lid of the radio. It's held in place with 1 screw on either side of the rear. Now, use a flathead screwdriver on each side to gently pry up between the top lid and chassis until it's free. If your radio still has this cloth tape intact on the front, you can use a box cutter to cut it in the groove, or you can pull the tape up as you remove the lid. Pull it up and out of the way. The first step inside is to remove this little circuit board that's mounted to the front left side of the chassis. It's held in with 2 screws from the outside, so start by removing those. Now you can pull the circuit board a little bit away from the chassis edge, pull this little piece of paper out and save it, and then the circuit board should just wiggle up and out, and you can just dangle it over the edge. Let's remove these little pieces of tape from back here. And now we're ready to disconnect the electrical harnesses from the cassette mechanism. There's 3 of them, here, here, and here. Starting with the one at the back left, pull enough wire up until you can get a good grip on it at the base, and then wiggle the connector and pull it up and out. Now we'll remove this white flexible cable. Its connector has an outer locking sleeve that you'll need to pull up in order to unlock. So use a flathead screwdriver to gently pry from either side until it stops in the up position. Now use your precision flathead to go under the cable and gently work it up from either side until it breaks free and comes completely out. Last is this harness at the front right behind the LCD. Because there's only 3 wires and they're small here, we don't recommend pulling it by the bundle of wires. Instead, use your precision flathead to pry on the connector towards the right side of the radio, and it eventually will pop out. Next, let's remove the 4 screws that hold the cassette mechanism in place. There's one here at the front left corner, one at the back right corner here, one that goes through the chassis at the back left corner, and one that goes through the front panel. We're ready to remove the cassette mechanism now. Start by getting all the wiring harnesses out of the way, and then grab the mechanism on either side, wiggle it, pull it up, and it should come out. Carefully remove this rust-colored piece of paper that's behind the cassette mechanism, and you can throw it away. Tear this piece of tape that holds this wiring harness to the gray piece of paper, but leave the gray paper in place. Next, we'll need to temporarily dismount the volume circuit board. Use your 11mm deep socket to remove the nut that secures the volume pot to the chassis. Remove the washer that's behind it so we don't lose it. Now we're going to pull the volume shaft out of the chassis, so use a finger on the front to push the shaft rearward while pulling the back of the volume circuit board up, and you should be able to remove it with just enough slack. Now we can get to the harness that we need to remove underneath it. Grab this bundle of wires at the base and pull up. Now grab the wiring harness from your kit that has the yellow and orange wires in it. Notice that one end has 6 pins and the other end has 5. Take the 6-pin end and route it behind these wiring bundles of the volume board and plug it into the connector we just freed up. Now take the other wiring harness from your kit, the one with black and brown wires, and we're going to attach the 6-pin male end to this 6-pin harness that's attached to the volume circuit board. With that done, we can reinstall the volume circuit board. Insert the shaft through the chassis hole. Reinstall the washer and the nut. And you can snug it down lightly with a ratchet to finish. Next, we need to transfer this mounting tab attached to the back right corner of the cassette mechanism over to the BA32 board. Remove the screw securing the tab, and then use the screw that came pre-installed in the BA32 board to secure this tab to the back right corner. Make sure you hold the tab flat as you tighten the screw down. Also go ahead and remove this screw that came in the back left corner of the board and set it aside for a moment. Okay, we're ready to install the board now. Let's start by getting all the wiring harnesses out of the way to give us some room. Now drop the back left corner of the board down into place first and use a finger to route the white flex cable up through the hole in the board and then drop it down into place. The board will be held in place with 3 screws. Let's get this front left one started first. Don't tighten any down until we get them all going. Do the back right one here. And then on the left side, use the screw that we removed from the back left corner of the BA32 board to screw in place here. Go back and tighten them all down. Let's get everything connected up now. Take the wiring harness with the yellow and orange wires that we installed and plug its other end into the volume out connector on the board. Now take the other wiring harness we installed and plug it into the volume in connector. Take this harness that we removed from the cassette mechanism and plug it into this connector at the back left. Let's do this white flex cable next. First, bend the end of the cable down at its original crease, and then we're going to insert it into the slot of this connector on the board, the white one. And this connector has an outer sleeve that pulls up to unlock it. Start with it in the down position, which is locked. It's easier to get it started. And now, while holding it in, pull the sleeve up to unlock it. While holding it there, push the cable now down into the connector, and then use a finger on each side to push cable plus sleeve down to lock it. If everything's good, you shouldn't see any exposed metal ends. Last, let's connect this harness at the front right into this connector here. Now we can reinstall this circuit board at the front left. And don't forget to install the paper backing behind it. Line the screw holes up and reinstall the 2 screws from the outside. Push this white connector junction underneath the metal tab on that circuit board so that wires aren't touching that metal directly. Last thing to install inside is this mic and aux cable. It comes with a knot pre-tied in it already. This knot should go on the inside of the radio and the cable run between the heatsink and the factory wiring that exits the radio. This gives it strain relief on the outside. Now I'll take the inside end of the cable and plug it into the external mic and aux connector on the circuit board. We can reinstall the faceplate now. It just pushes straight on. And then use the 4 screws, 2 on each side, to secure it. Reinstall the inner volume knob, which is notched and only fits in one direction. And then the outer volume knob. This one's not notched, so you'll want to put the volume shaft into the off position and then install the knob in about the 7 o'clock position. Okay, time to reinstall the top lid. Notice that there's 3 little tabs on the bottom of the front edge, and those need to catch under the front lip of the chassis. Push down on each side of the lid until it pops down into the chassis. Ensure our mic and aux cable is still running where we put it, and then you can reinstall the 2 screws that hold the lid on. And that's it. The rest of installation is the reverse of removal, and don't forget to install your mic and/or aux cable when you put the radio back in the dash. Speaking of the microphone, this is about the placement you're going for, somewhere in the driver's A-pillar up top near the sun visor. You can use the clip to go onto the sun visor, or what's shown here, which is to use the adhesive backed mount with the adhesive backing still on and then sort of tucked into the weather stripping of the door frame. Tuck the mic cable away and run it down and over to the radio area. Thanks for watching. We hope this video made the installation process as smooth and painless and clear as possible. If you do have any questions, please reach out at our support email or find us on Instagram.